नमस्कार दोस्तों, हाय गाइस, वेलकम टू डीप टॉक वंस अगेन। दिस अ वेरी स्पेशल एपिसोड ऑफ डीप टॉक। आज बहुत ही खास मेहमान है मेरे साथ। शी इज़ अ साइकोथेरेपिस्ट, यानी जो थेरेपिस्ट, एंड शी वाज माय साइकोथेरेपिस्ट एट वन पॉइंट। यस, आई डोंट नो इफ यू रिमेंबर द मूवी टू स्टेट्स। उसमें अगर आपको ओपनिंग सीन याद हो तो अर्जुन कपूर गोज टू अ थेरेपिस्ट। दैट सीन is there because it's there in the book which I wrote, Two States, and that book I wrote inspired by the therapist I'm going to talk to today. And I'll tell you why I've called a psychotherapist for the first time on a deep talk, which is usually about entrepreneurs, billionaires, actors, sports people, all those things. But today, actually, about a psychotherapist here who is also a friend, you can say now, Ashika Mehta. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me, Chetan. It's been such a long association, and I hope today's talk will help us reach many, many people to simplify all the mystery around mental health and the everyday struggles that we all experience.
डेफिनेटली। एंड मेरा तो बस एक ही एम था कि नॉर्मली आप थेरेपिस्ट होते थे और मैं बोल रहा होता था, आज मैं सुनूंगा और मैं आज आपसे जो मर्जी पूछ सकता हूँ। सो दैट इज द एम। बट या डेफिनेटली गाइस, आई कॉल्ड आशिका हेयर बिकॉज आई फील कि ये मेंटल हेल्थ का बहुत जगह, अगर आप इंस्टाग्राम खोलो, यूट्यूब खोलो, हर जगह मेंटल हेल्थ पे पोस्ट होते हैं, मेंटल हेल्थ पे आर्टिकल्स होते हैं, बड़े बड़े एक्टर्स बोल रहे हैं मुझे मेंटल हेल्थ इश्यूज है, कोई बोल रहा है। तो कई बार हमें समझ नहीं आता कि ये क्या चीज़ है मेंटल हेल्थ। पहली बात होता क्या था, बिल्कुल ही बेसिक लेवल पे। हालांकि आशिका हैज मोर देन व्हाट अराउंड 20 years of experience now,
Almost.
20 years of experience seeing people, on ground experience, and of course she has her education. So maybe कुछ questions मैं आपसे पूछूंगा, maybe they are too basic, but I think people need to understand the basics
I
also.
think let's start simply, simplify it, demystify it for everyone so we can help as many people as possible.
ठीक है। What is mental health?
तो पहले यही प्रॉब्लम होता था कि सब लोग एजुकेशन के बारे में बात करते थे, पर हमारी मानसिक स्टेबिलिटी क्या है, पेरेंटिंग कैसे होना चाहिए, स्कूल में कौन से सिचुएशंस बच्चों को अफेक्ट करते हैं, जैसे कि बुलिंग, टीचर्स के एटीट्यूड्स, इसके बारे में कोई बात नहीं करता था। लेकिन साइकोलॉजी में हमें पता चला है कि इसकी बहुत बड़ी इम्पैक्ट होती है हमारे लाइफ पे, because between the ages of 0 to 9 more specifically हमारी ब्लूप्रिंट बनती है कि हमारी मेंटल ब्लूप्रिंट। इसका मतलब क्या है कि वी रियलाइज we start forming beliefs based on our experiences at home.
0 to 9 में?
0 to 9 में
वो तो इतने छोटे हैं, तब तो है मम्मी दूध पिला दो बस हो गए, मतलब उसमें उसमें
इतना सिंपल नहीं होता है ना। अगर फॉर एग्ज़ाम्पल किसी के फैमिली में से फाइनेंशियल प्रॉब्लम्स है, या पेरेंट्स के बीच कुछ
झगड़ा है।
डिफ़िकल्ट झगड़ा है, डिफ़िकल्ट मैरिज है, तो इसका असर बच्चे को भी होता है। Imagine how helpless that child who is 6 years old feels if there's domestic violence between the parents, if there's aggression between the parents, if there's loud talking, shouting, punishing, hitting at home. That child is going to grow up feeling the world is not a safe place. I work with adults today who have experienced alag alag tarah ke trauma when they are younger, and that really affects them even in adulthood because they have developed very strong ideas about इट्स नॉट सेफ टू बी वल्नरेबल। मेरे जो भी इमोशंस हैं, मैं अगर वो नेगेटिव इमोशंस है, अगर मुझे डर लग रहा है, अगर मुझे इफ आई एम फीलिंग गिल्टी, अगर इफ़ आई फील शेम, I can't talk about these things openly because I will be mocked, I will be shot down, I will be persecuted for talking about these things, but they're very real emotions that we all feel. And so when the 0 to 9 is when we form that template of, is it okay to be vulnerable, is it okay to be curious, is it okay to have needs, and it depends on those experiences how that template shapes up. So someone who's gone through financial problems may never ask their parents for anything. That child wants to do a particular class, they want to buy something, and when they grow up, those same patterns repeat in adult life. So when we talk about mental health, what is mental health? It is really the ability to be authentic, to express yourself, to not feel shame and guilt about being who you are, to be able to feel a sense of joy and purpose in your life, to be able to be a healthy, contributing member of society, the ability to manage everyday stresses. That is mental health. I think one of the most important things as a society that we need to recognize is how others feel is not our responsibility. If we are trying to live authentically and we are trying to live conscientiously without, and our intention is not to hurt somebody but to be true to ourselves, then how the other person feels, they have to come to terms with and deal with. And this is a complicated concept.
नहीं नहीं but ये let's I want to repeat that line. Guys, this is like in India, this is probably like, you know, these the posts they have what sounds illegal but is actually legal. This is one of those. She just said, and she's a psychotherapist, and she's saying how others feel is not your responsibility. जो और लोग महसूस कर रहे हैं वो आपकी जिम्मेदारी नहीं है. What is depression? What is a bad mood? What is feeling low? And you know, like, when do I take drugs? When do I take therapy? When do I just go for a walk or go for a run? How does, I want to be very real about this because it's become politically correct to say mental health. I can just post mental health is important, guys, depression is important, but what does it mean? Should I start taking SSRI drugs because I'm depressed? I mean, those have 100 other side effects. I just like unpack this for us.
So I'm going to start with what a low mood is. If you're feeling tired for a day, if you're feeling like you can't focus, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling a temporary loss of appetite, if there's a big thing happening and you're feeling little out of sorts, and a sad event, you moved to a place, you moved houses, all that is low mood. What is the differentiating factor between depression and low mood? Low mood lasts for a few days. It doesn't last for a long
For a few
time.
days.
It can last for 2, 3, 4, 5 days, but it lifts. It lifts when you do some activity that you enjoy, maybe by going for a run, or you meet friends, or you exercise, and the mood lifts. Depression is something more serious than that. And that happens when this low mood lasts for 2 weeks or more. And even though you are doing these different uplifting activities, that sense of depression is not lifting. Some of the hallmark characteristics of depression are a change in your sleeping patterns. Either you're sleeping too much and you can't wake up, or you're sleeping too little. Change in your eating patterns. Either you are unable to eat at all, or you're binge eating because you're feeling sad. Some people have a low mood, they're unable to concentrate at all. There's a sense of apathy or a loss of interest in anything in life. हाँ, मैं पूरा दिन टीवी के सामने बैठ सकती हूँ, मैं पूरा दिन बेड में बैठ सकती हूँ. So
ऐसे तो
those are
बहुत लोग हैं आशिका लाइफ में.
a lot of people whose depression is undiagnosed. कुछ नहीं करते, कोई भी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी हो, नहीं करते, पूरा दिन ऐसे ही गुजरता है in nothingness.
A lot of old people in India like that. Would you say like a retired? They just sit in front of the TV all day. Not all. Some do like other things. They have friends. They celebrate festivals.
So many people do things, right?
A lot of people like, or forget old people. There are people who just do like exactly what you're
Depression
saying.
is very common in the elderly because they have very few, they're not mobile anymore. They find it difficult to actually show up and do things because of physical disability. So depression is very common, and I think family members need to take this seriously to make sure that they're trying to engage their elders as much as possible, whether it's with board games, whether it's reading with them, whether it's assisting them to go out for walks, engaging with their friends, calling their friends over, calling relatives over. It's required. But depression is, you can diagnose it when you're experiencing any of these symptoms for a duration longer than 2 weeks.
Okay, so 2 weeks is kind of where you start getting worried. Ki,
Many people will experience depression in the course of their life. But it's not that everyone needs to take medication. In very extreme cases of clinical depression, if that is the time that medication can help, but counseling also helps a lot. what is the root of depression? They say partly depression is genetic, but partly depression is also based on your life circumstances. For a lot of people, the depression starts when that blueprint is has given you certain beliefs about how life should be. You know, in that 0 to 9, even up to 18, you develop ideas. The world is not a safe place. I am not a capable person. I had critical parents, so maybe I was bullied in school. So you have ideas about the world that I am incapable, I am not deserving, my needs are too much. And if we don't unpack these underlying beliefs we have about ourselves, when we encounter a stressful life event, बहुत से stresses आते हैं, जैसे कि आई डेंट गेट इन टू द कॉलेज ऑफ माई चॉइस, पोस्टपार्टम डिप्रेशन, लोगों को बच्चे पैदा करने के बाद भी हार्मोनल चेंजेस होते हैं, आफ्टर मैरिज, death of a loved one. There's so many breakup, divorce, losing a job. There's so many stressful life events. And what those stressful life events often do is it either brings up the critic in us. We have a side of our ego that's constantly judging us. So that side will say, you're not smart enough, you're not lovable enough, you're not talented enough, you're not intelligent enough, you're not rich enough, you're not successful enough, you're not perfect enough. Then with that, social comparison will also come. अभी सब पूरा दिन यूट्यूब पे स्क्रॉल कर रहे हैं, इंस्टाग्राम पे स्क्रॉल,
We'll talk about social media, so separate deserves a separate discussion. But
all
yes,
that will happen, and that stressful event and that critic within us will really bubble up and exacerbate our beliefs about the world. And if those beliefs about the world are faulty because of what happened between 0 and 18, when our ideas of the world were getting set up, that will plunge us into a state of anxiety or depression. So really, counseling helps you to look at that map and correct it and have healthier ideas about what the world is and about yourself.
so then it's counseling, and then if more extreme cases there are drugs. What kind of drugs?
So you
Of course, we
would have to go to a psychiatrist.
but they
I
are
would definitely say, please do not. They alter the neurotransmitters in your brain. So they work on serotonin and dopamine. And there are lots and lots of different kinds of drugs. It would require a separate podcast. But what I would suggest is, please don't take drugs and sleep medication. That is not medication for depression. A lot of people go to their GPs and say, you know, मुझे तकलीफ हो रही है, give me a pill to make me sleep. That's not going to help you with your depression.
really.
So please go
ये
to
तो
a
बहुत people go to the chemist in India.
वही तो ना,
नींद नहीं आ रही, जरा कुछ देना.
ये तो you
That's
must,
very bad. Let's just be very clear. That is very bad.
that is not going to help your depression, and it could have other side effects. You need to go to a qualified psychiatrist who can assess you and give you the appropriate medication if medication is what you need. Most of the time, counseling helps, but there are also other strategies to help you lift out of a depression. Exercise has been shown to be very effective, so has meditation. The ability to meditate, center yourself, breath work, do breathing exercises, pranayam. It really helps center you. It's not a substitute for counseling or therapy, it's not a substitute for medication, but it can help you get out of a depression and maintain that sense of peace and balance and a healthy mental state.
Let's talk of anxiety actually. Anxiety क्या है और लोगों में बहुत कॉमन हो गई है. बहुत लोग, स्पेशली यंग पीपल से, some people say it's because of social media. So after anxiety, we'll talk of social media. But and how do, like you said, how to fix it? You feel घबराहट जिसे कहते हैं. How anxiety.
एंजाइटी के सिम्टम्स बहुत से होते हैं. बहुत से लोगों को ऐसे घबराहट जैसे सिम्टम्स होते हैं, जैसे उनकी हार्ट बीट तेज़ हो गई है और ब्रीदिंग शैलो हो जाती हैं. ऐसे पेट में दर्द होता है, लाइक अ बॉल ऑफ एंजाइटी इन योर स्टमक, स्वेटिंग. तो एंजाइटी लोगों को क्यों होती है? Many reasons. In our society, we are learning more and more that we need to be less vulnerable and we need to be more perfect. And it's tied to not only the messaging we get in school and from our parents and families, but also social media. Everything we see is perfect. So imagine, actually, none of us are perfect. Nobody is perfect and nothing is perfect. So, one of the techniques to be happier and to deal with anxiety is to break down your ideas around perfection. That this is a construct, it is not a reality. ये perfection एक idea है, सच्चाई नहीं है. लाइफ में कुछ भी परफेक्ट नहीं है. And the minute we learn to accept imperfection and authenticity, when we learn to value that, I think a lot of the standards that we hold ourselves to, the ridiculous standards, start to wash away. सो परफेक्शनिज्म. दूसरी चीज़ है सोशल कंपैरिजन. वो ऐसे कर रहा है तो मुझे भी ऐसे करना चाहिए. वो इतने पैसे कमा रहा है, मैं इतने पैसे नहीं कमा रही हूँ. उनके पास उसकी नो लेटेस्ट आईफोन है. फॉरगेट मटेरियल थिंग्स. उनकी मैरिड लाइफ कितनी हैप्पी है, मेरी मैरिड लाइफ इतनी अच्छी नहीं है. उनके दो बच्चे कितने स्मार्ट है, मेरे बच्चे तो बैली पास होते हैं. यू नो दैट काइंड ऑफ थिंग. उनके हॉलीडेज़ देखो कितने मज़े लेते हैं, उनकी फैमिली देखो कितनी क्लोज है. वॉट एवर यू आर कंपेयरिंग, उनके लुक्स देखो, मेरे लुक्स देखो. This is all. Why are we so consumed by what somebody else is doing? It's irrelevant. Your benchmark of progress should be with yourself. This is your journey. You have one life. You have to make meaning and progress towards your changing purpose. If your entire attention is focused on what somebody else is doing, where are you going to get the mental space or the time to focus on you and take the steps required to move in that direction?
Yes, that's very well put. And how would you like then? Okay, supposing people feel anxiety, whether it's from social media, whether it's from perfectionism, whether it's from just a fear of something.
How would they deal with it?
कैसे इसको ठीक करना है?
एंग्जाइटी में काउंसलिंग की ज़रूरत होती है और आप वापस उस ब्लूप्रिंट पे जाएंगे और यू विल क्वेश्चन व्हाट आर योर बिलीव्स. इफ़ आप सोशल कंपैरिजन कर रहे हो, आप परफेक्शनिस्ट बन रहे हो, आपकी बिलीफ है कि world is not a safe place, I cannot be authentic. Why do you think it's not a safe place? You'll question it. What happened in that 0 to 18 to create these ideas about the world? And then the therapist will help you see that yes, it in fact is a safe place today. You can take a small risk. You can prove to yourself that you don't need to be so fearful. We go into our deepest past pains under stress. That is the natural tendency of the mind. But when you sort out what happened there, you sort out that pain that you are holding from the past, then you are free to live your life to it and fulfill your own potential. That doesn't hold you back. So, anxiety is about really clearing those cobwebs, those ideas that are not working for you anymore. The ideas that you hold so dear that you may not even be aware of. All these ideas sit in our subconscious. It's only when we have a conversation with someone about them that they come out.
Why do we have bad habits, and why do we keep slipping back to bad habits, and why is it so hard to get rid of bad habits, and why is it hard to put on good habits, and how can we deal with it from a psychological point standpoint?
So it's also habits are conditioning, right? You do something once, you do it again, and it becomes normalized. And when you're speaking of bad habits like smoking, drinking, having an unhealthy relationship with food, all these things often are an escape. When we feel emotionally burdened, when we feel emotionally overwhelmed, we turn to these things for comfort. Do they actually give us comfort? Not necessarily, because everything in moderation is good, anything in excess is bad. I mean, smoking, even in moderation, is bad, and so is drinking.
Bad, bad only.
Very, very bad physiological effect on you. But I think what any of these addictions do is they release a lot of dopamine, which is the feel good neurotransmitter in our brain. And we get addicted to that feeling. It numbs out everything else. So, dopamine is released after you have a few drinks, you forget about your problems. So, the urge to do it again is there. And every time you do it, you need a little more alcohol to give you the same kick. And you need a little more cigarette to give you the same kick, and you need a little more food to give you the same kick, you need a little more drugs to give you the same kick. And that's how the addiction sets in. And what are addictions? There really is, we don't have effective coping techniques to deal with struggle, to deal with difficulty, to deal with painful emotions. We've been taught that as that it's not okay to talk about pain.
Hmm. Especially emotional pain.
It's not okay. It's a sign of weakness. And so then what tools do you have to cope with it is all these different addictions. However, if you are able to tell yourself that it's, let me process it, let me talk, let me be authentic, let me face my emotions, let me work through them, let there not be a taboo around this discussion, then your mind doesn't need to go to these dysfunctional coping techniques.
How does one build discipline from a psychological point of view?
By making sure your purpose is authentic. So if I am struggling to go to the gym, for example, then what would one's purpose here be? Is it to be healthy? Is it to condition your muscles? Or is it to look a certain way?
And post on Instagram.
Post on, if it's to look a certain way and post on Instagram, suddenly that creates too much pressure. And so when there's too much pressure, the desire to give up is higher. But when the purpose is, I want to be healthy, I want to wear clothes that make me feel good, I want to fit into my clothes, I want, I don't want uh, ailments, I want to be fit, then your purpose is authentic, and so the desire to go is also higher. Pressure kills motivation. So to be disciplined under pressure is very hard, which is, I think, what young people need to know, that don't put too much pressure. You don't have to be this way or that way. Do your best, try, persist. When you feel like you're losing motivation, go back and ask yourself, what is my purpose? And try to be as true to yourself as you can.
Anything else actually you want to tell to this young person, the average viewer of my channel, male, maybe female, late teens, early 20s, at the crossroads in life, unsure, underconfident of what they want to do, how they should balance their career, health, relationships, feeling low sometimes, feeling unsure about the future? How, what tips do you have for them? How should they go about living their life to make sure they are happy, basically?
Three things I can tell you. The first is, do not think only about yourself. Think beyond yourself. How can you be of service to people? How can you be of help to people? I think too many of us are caught up with ourselves, and it's not always a healthy thing. So the moment you move beyond yourself, you can make impact. And I hear lots of young people saying they want to make impact in the world. That only happens when you move beyond yourself and beyond your own ego. The second is read. Read, read, read. Expand your perspective. Your understanding of life, its meaning, its purpose will also grow as you experience new things and you read new things. Read philosophy, read fiction, read articles on psychology, read everything you can get your hands on and understand the world around you and your role in it. And the third thing is, take pride in yourself, value your own mind, value your own ideas, value your own opinions. They don't have to fit with what other people think. You don't have to fit in. You have to be you and carve out a space for who you are. So be authentic. Don't be afraid of that.
This channel is for people, I always say this, for people who want to self develop, come in the top 5% of society in every way, in achievement, career, happiness. You need to be top 5%. So people who come here are very serious. People who come here are, this channel is not about getting the max views or showing prank videos or things like that. It is to really add value. It's my legacy. It's something I'm doing to help people, and today you've really contributed in that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. ये था डीप टॉक विद आशिका. Hope you liked it. Thank you for watching. Take care.